Hi, so I just want to make this video real quick to give you an idea of how to use our online calculator to work with our sine, cosine, and tangent functions and the inverse of those. So that's going to be our sine -1, cosine -1, and tan -1 functions as well. I mostly want to focus on that calculator because I believe you're doing a great job, setting up the problem. But let's start from the beginning here. So if we were going to do this problem here, right, I'm circling the 19, and then I am looking across my triangle. All right, and when I look across my triangle from the angle that I circle, that's going to be pointing at our opposite side. And so I'm going to put an O there for opposite. And then next, I like to identify our hypotenuse side. And so that's going to be across the triangle from our 90-degree angle. I'm going to put an H there for hypotenuse. And then finally, our third side, just by process of elimination, is always going to be our adjacent side. All right. Now, as far as getting a setup here, right, we're going to use SOHCAHTOA as a guide to setting up a function and a fraction to work with. And this SOHCAHTOA will guide us into using the right function. So if you look at this triangle, notice on our hypotenuse side where that big red H is, there's no information there. And so I'm going to scribble out the hypotenuse. Because there is no information there, I can't really use it to help me with anything, right? And so I'm going to circle our opposite side and our adjacent side now, opposite and adjacent, right? Because that is where I have our information. Obviously, I need to use the opposite side because that's where X is. We have to solve for X. And then the other information we have is that, this side right here has a 20 on it, all right? And so if we're going to use opposite and adjacent, O and A, we see that here in TOA, T-O-A, right? And what that means is tangent, that's what the T is going to equal opposite divided by adjacent. And so I'm going to write tan down, and then we put our angle measure in the parentheses, so 19, and then that's going to equal, and the first letter goes on top of our fraction, the second letter goes on the bottom. So the O side goes on top, A side on the bottom. And so O is X, that'll go on top of our fraction, and our A side is a 20, that'll go on the bottom. And now we can zoom in here and we can just solve for X, right? And so we're going to start by putting our function over 1. That'll give us an opportunity to have just kind of a nice familiar setup for when we cross multiply. And so now let's do that. We'll cross multiply to get X by itself. We've got a tangent of 19 times 20, and that will equal 1 times X. Now, 1 times X is nice because 1 times X is just X. So I'm going to write that down, and then that'll equal tangent of 19 times 20. Tangent of 19 times 20 is 20 times tan of 19. I like to write it like that, and then that way the 20 doesn't get like accidentally into the parentheses with the 19, all right? And so then this is what we want to type into our online calculator. And so I think this is the most important point for you. That online calculator is going to be Desmos. So you can go to desmos.com and click the graphing calculator, or you can just like download it on your cell phone if you have one, the Desmos app. That's a great way to do it as well. And so I'm going to open a Desmos screen and let's type this in and see what X equals. And so a couple things we need to do on the Desmos screen to make sure we are in the right mode. The first thing you need to check all the time is this. And since you've had your own calculator before, you probably know about degree mode. But we need to be in degree mode because we are working with angles that are measured in degrees. You will get into degree mode by clicking this wrench in the top right corner of your Desmos screen, and you can see that's called graph settings. So I'm going to click that, and if I look at the very bottom, I see 2 words. One of them is degrees. And a lot of times when you start a Desmos screen for the first time, radians is highlighted in green. Now radians is still an angle measure, but it's just a different unit. We want degree units. So let's click the word degrees, and you'll notice that degrees is now highlighted in green. All right, degrees is now highlighted in green. And so now, once degrees is highlighted in green, we are good. That means Desmos is gonna work with degrees for us, and that's what we want. And so now we can go over into one of these bars over here. I'm gonna click into the top one, and we can type stuff in, and it's gonna tell us what the answer is. And so what we wanna type in is 20 times tangent of 19. 20 times tangent of 19. So we go back there, and I'm going to click 20. I'm going to click the times button, and then I'm going to go to the functions menu. And this is the real key to answer your question. When I click the functions menu, you'll see a whole lot of variations of sine, cosine, and tangent, right? On the very left side, you have the regular one, sine, cosine, tangent. In the middle, you have the -1 version, sine -1, cosine -1, tan -1. So for this problem, we're going to need the regular one, right? If I go back there, it's 20 times tan of 19, not -1, but just regular tan. So I'm going to click tan, and I'm going to put 19 in there, right? And there's an answer, 6.88. We could round that up to like 6.9, right? So that's our answer for that problem. Now, again, to just show you, you can use the -1 versions as well. Let's just click into bar 2. And here's a graph settings thing, right? I just want to double check. Am I still in degrees? Yes, but you always have to be in degree mode. And again, it comes from that wrench, and degrees has to be highlighted green. Once it's in degree mode, you should be good to go to type in whatever you need. So again, I'll go to this bar here. And one of the problems we did in class today involved us doing the cosine -1 of 5 divided by 13. And so let's say we do that problem again. We want to type that in. We would go to the functions. Here's our cosine -1. And then I can type 5 divided by 13. And there's our answer right there. 67.38 could be rounded up to 67.4. But again, long story short, to just give you a little bit of guidance as far as where these functions are, we come to Desmos.com or use the app. Go to the wrench, make sure you are in degree mode before you do any of these problems, and then click into one of the bars, and all your sine, cosine, tangent functions, including the -1 versions, are in that functions pop-up menu. All right? Perfect. I hope this helps you out. Thank you for your question, and I'll see you in class. All right? Have a great day.